There's been a lot of outrage aimed at the president this week in the wake of his decision to pull U.S. troops away from the border of Syria and Turkey. For those on the left, it was because they had immediately become supporters of a forever military presence at the exact moment Trump made his announcement a week ago. I ignored them. It was harder to ignore the statements made by Lindsey Graham, who has, since the Kavanaugh debacle, been a good friend and defender of the Trump administration. Even harder was to listen to the laments of American soldiers who had served with the Kurdish militia members and who now felt that the United States had betrayed those brave men and women. I've heard it said a number of times, they helped us defeat ISIS. We owe them. Let's look at that from another angle. Isn't it we who helped them defeat ISIS? This is not to denigrate the Kurds or deny the U.S. role in destabilizing the area. They are rightly admired by Americans and Israelis alike for their courage and for their dogged determination to finally achieve the homeland that they were promised by Sykes-Picot and the Treaty of Sèvres during the death rattle of the Ottoman Empire. They are tough and resilient, no doubt, but as a people, they can't be represented only by those who happen to have interacted with American troops. It's true that many Kurds are very Western in their outlook as compared to other Muslims in that region. It's also true that many are Maoists. When they have come close to seceding from one of the four countries where parts of their longed-for Kurdistan exist, their own factionalism has derailed them. They are really no more united as one than we are. Look at the news for a minute and tell me what Americans are like. We can't even make general statements about ourselves. And now, as Republicans accuse Donald Trump of deserting and betraying the Kurds, let's look at that from another angle. The border between Syria and Turkey is 500 miles long. There were 50 American soldiers stationed there. That's one guy every 10 miles. Does that sound to you like an effective deterrent force? Are those criticizing Trump's action as betrayal saying that in order to properly honor the Kurds, we need to go to war with Turkey, technically an ally, and the NATO country with a military second only to ours? Is that what they're saying? Because unless Trump's Republican detractors are suggesting that one GI every 10 miles would scare off Erdogan's army, that's exactly what they're saying. In their eyes, Trump needed either to pointlessly sacrifice our own men and women in uniform or meet the Turks with our own air and ground forces. We sent Trump to Washington because we were sick and tired of the swamp. Let's admit to ourselves that these permanent wars in the Islamic world are yet another aspect of the swamp. But I digress. Here is a map put together by the Kurdish project using CIA stats. The greatest number of Kurds live in Turkey, and it's not even close. Syria is a distant fourth place. The Kurds living in Syria are mostly east of the Euphrates and are generally autonomous. Those living in Iraq are similarly self-governing. Kurds have long been fighting for the homeland they feel they were robbed of. And in Turkey, with the highest concentration of Kurds, that fight has been going in fits and starts since 1978. The PKK, which means Kurdistan Workers' Party, was formed then and has been an armed left-wing separatist movement ever since. The Syrian Democratic Forces, the militia that fought with our soldiers against ISIS, is dominated by the mostly Kurdish People's Protection Units, or YPG. And the YPG is viewed as the Syrian version of the PKK. This is the group being targeted by the Turks. The YPG. In Erdogan's view, Kurds are building a secessionist army at Turkey's southern border. You get the picture. This region is crawling with militias. They fight together when it serves them and against each other when that seems like a better plan. The bottom line is that this part of the world is irreparably tribal. I've been on the planet a while now, and I don't remember any significant stretch of times where there was stability and peace in the Middle East, except when strongman dictators enforced that peace with an iron fist. We Americans lapse into tribalism ourselves when we concentrate on our differences. This leads to a key insight. Only a strong and positive national identity can override the internal divisions bound to happen in all pluralistic societies. I'm sorry that the Kurds have been unable or unwilling to be a people inside Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria, like Jews have done in the United States. Sometimes ancient codes of honor need to give way to modern ideas of coexistence. I'm sure we all wish that the brave Kurds could have the country they have so long tried to achieve, but I have no rosy dreams of that happening anytime soon. This is a Google map that was searchable with the term Kurdistan. In 2018, Erdogan's government insisted that Google remove this map, and Google complied. This is what a similar search now yields. Okay, now let's look at the population map I showed you a few minutes ago. You got it? Now let's superimpose the area Google had been calling Kurdistan. The problem is obvious. In order for the Kurds to achieve this homeland, they would have to pull off secessions from 4 countries. Do you think that Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and Iran are likely to sign on to that? There is also the issue of the 11,000 ISIS fighters being held in Syria by the Kurds, and tens of thousands of their family members. Some are worried that the fighters will escape. Trump wants their countries of origin to take them, which seems logical, but this will undoubtedly be a difficult sticking point. In closing, let's look at the other claim being made by the Republicans and Democrats alike, and that is that Trump has hurt our credibility badly with future allies. I think that these 3 paragraphs from a piece by American-Israeli columnist Caroline B. Glick gets to the issue. Quote, "To the extent that Trump has harmed U.S. credibility, he didn't do it in Syria this week by rejecting war with Turkey. He did it last month by failing to retaliate militarily against Iran's brazen military attack on Saudi Arabia's oil installations. Whereas the U.S. has no commitment to protect the Kurds, the U.S.'s central commitment in the Middle East for the past 70 years has been the protection of Saudi oil installations and maintaining the safety of maritime routes in and around the Persian Gulf. The best move Trump can make now, in light of the narrative of treachery toward the Kurds, is to finally retaliate against Iran. A well-conceived and limited U.S. strike against Iranian missile and drone installations would restore Americans' posture as the dominant power in the Persian Gulf and prevent the further destabilization of the Saudi regime and the backsliding of the UAE toward Iran. As for Syria, it is impossible to know what the future holds for the Kurds, the Turks, the Iranians, Assad, or anyone else. But what is clear enough is that Trump avoided war with Turkey this week, and he began extracting America from an open-ended commitment to the Kurds it never made and never intended to fulfill." Unquote. That was Caroline Glick. I'm inclined to agree with her. As always, we look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.